Greetings, I am a solitary woman in my 60s. From a young age, I clung to the notion of a mutual philosophy, convinced that my diligence and commitment would be mirrored by equal effort from others. This perspective shaped my relationships, where I assumed that offering kindness to people would ensure I received the same in return. Even after tying the knot, I held on to this conviction, believing that by being thoughtful toward my spouse, he would respond in kind. In today's era, women aren't pressured to give up as much, but back in my time, societal norms demanded otherwise. I willingly put my husband and children first, trusting that my sacrifices would pave the way for lasting joy. Yet my marriage and family life didn't turn out as I had envisioned. Despite waking early and toiling tirelessly for my loved ones, criticism and faults eclipsed any gratitude. No one forced me into this life. I was simply an average woman who wed a colleague 4 years older, bowing to the expectations of the time. Though it was customary for married women to leave their careers, I embraced the role of a full-time homemaker after my daughter's birth. I harbored no regrets, viewing it as a natural step for the sake of family. While my existence wasn't as dazzling as the dramas on television, it felt steady and manageable. When my daughter reached 9th grade, tragedy hit. My mother passed away unexpectedly from a heart attack. As I grieved her loss, I uncovered my husband's infidelity. While I was steeped in sorrow, he sought happiness elsewhere, growing distant and callous, eventually pushing for a divorce. I fought against ending our marriage, but his actions became intolerable. Divorce carried a heavy stigma in those days, and despite his irresponsibility and cruelty, I resisted the notion. Looking back, I see my innocence, but so much more was at stake. My daughter, caught in the chaos, bore the weight of it all. Though I refused to let go, I found myself trapped in profound misery. During a fierce argument about our looming separation, my father arrived unannounced. Seeing the strain in our home, he offered me a refuge and urged me to leave my husband, taking my daughter along. Having recently lost his own wife and now witnessing his daughter's unhappy marriage, he persuaded me that clinging to such a painful situation was pointless. Overwhelmed by his care, I relented to my husband's demand for divorce. In exchange, he handed me $3,000 in cash. With my father's help, I rented a modest 2-bedroom townhouse for my daughter and me to start anew. I braced myself for hard work, anxious about society's judgment of a divorced woman raising a child alone. This fear intensified as my daughter entered her teenage years. During this trying time, she voiced the typical wishes of her age, bemoaning the fallout of her parents' split. Though the pain cut deep, I knew I couldn't linger on it forever. Determined to support her, I set out to find steady work. But as an older, divorced mother, job opportunities were scarce. Undaunted, I juggled multiple part-time and late-night shifts, even taking on freelance tasks at home when I could. As years passed, my daughter reached her final year of high school. Despite our tight finances, she shone academically, carving her own path to success. Driven by my wish to secure her future, I landed a position at a 24-hour diner, working grueling 12-hour shifts. 2/3 of my income went into savings for her college fees. Though I faced whispers and judgment, especially from some married men who saw me as an easy mark, I pressed on for her sake. The sacrifices piled up, but my aim was to give her chances I never had. As she neared adulthood, I hoped she'd grasp the struggles I endured to raise her and earn a living. Reflecting on those hardships, I saw that having a daughter made my journey both tougher and richer. She became my rock, fueling my resolve to push through life's trials. A year later, my daughter's stellar results in the SAT exams won her a spot at Harvard University, a triumph that made every past struggle worthwhile. As she began her college adventure, I felt a blend of pride and loneliness. Though I'd managed to fund her education and housing, her absence at home left an emptiness. We stayed connected through calls, and in those early months of her independence, our bond grew stronger. Her newfound warmth and closeness brought me solace, and I treasured our deepening tie. Despite the obstacles, she graduated college debt-free, realizing a dream we'd labored for together. I'd hoped we'd live together again, but she surprised me by landing a job at a defense firm and choosing to live on her own. To aid her, I took out a bank loan and helped with the down payment for a condo near her workplace. As I grew older and adopted a simpler look, my daughter blossomed into a stylish professional. Seeing her thrive filled me with joy, affirming that my sacrifices had paid off. I found peace in her accomplishments, understanding the saying that joy can make you forget hunger. Though I'd supported her financially through college, her wedding loomed as a fresh burden. Some wondered why I kept struggling when she could stand on her own, but I was set on contributing to her wedding costs to shield her from any scorn from her future in-laws. The belief that sacrificing for her happiness would bring us both fulfillment kept me going. Yet as she began dating, I noticed a widening gap between us. Hurt at first, I came to see that her adult life and relationships naturally took priority. I waited patiently for her to grow and reconnect, knowing priorities shift in that stage of life. But on her 27th birthday, I eagerly anticipated celebrating with her. Instead, she brushed off my plans, saying she was spending it with someone named Michael. Though she may have meant to spare me the effort, her dismissal stung. That day, her birthday, meant so much to me, and her indifference pierced deeply. It baffled me that she, so bright, saw spending on her birthday as wasteful despite our tight budget, yet seemed so distant from understanding her own mother. Still, she was my only child, and despite my hurt, I longed to see her briefly that day, even if it meant taking time off work. I dressed carefully before heading to her office, only to face a jarring encounter. In the lobby, I spotted my ex-husband with his mistress, people I'd hoped never to see again. Stunned and unsure how he knew to be there, I called my daughter in a panic, only for her to hang up, claiming she was in a meeting. Reeling, I turned to leave, then heard her joyfully greet her father and hug him, her boyfriend clearly at ease with my ex and his wife. Rage and betrayal consumed me as if the world had turned against me. Drained of purpose, I fled the scene. Later, I wrestled with the urge to confront them but chose to retreat instead. Too shaken to reach out, I was stunned when my daughter appeared at my door one day, announcing her engagement and handing me an invitation. My shock deepened when I saw the names on the card. Though she was my flesh and blood, I wanted to cast her out. I demanded how she could treat me like a mere guest at her wedding, reminding her I was her mother. She apologized, explaining she felt cornered, wanting to marry Michael but facing his parents' scrutiny over every detail of her life. Torn between pain and a wish to understand her, I grappled with the mess of emotions her choice stirred. Her confession, that she feared her in-laws would reject her over my divorce and single motherhood, hit hard. I vented my frustration, recounting the sacrifices I'd made, slaving at a restaurant to fund her education. But her reply floored me. She brushed off the past, noting that her father and his partner, the woman who shattered our family, had already met her fiancé's parents. To her, the present trumped our struggles, and she valued an easier life over our shared history. Wounded and regretful, I lashed out for the first time, decrying her attitude. She retorted that if I wanted her gone, I should repay her for what I'd spent raising her. Our clash erupted and she stormed out, declaring us strangers. Crushed, I questioned the point of saving for her wedding and stared at the invitation she'd left, my name replaced by another's. 3 years later, I learned my father, who'd lived alone to spare me burden, had fallen ill and passed away. Discovering this only after his death, I felt the sting of being a neglectful daughter. Months later, I inherited his small condo, a poignant echo of the family ties and trials that defined me. With the wedding savings still in my account, I resolved to live for myself, even if it felt belated. I mused that banking everything on one child and sacrificing for them might not bring true fulfillment. It dawned on me that I needed to prioritize my own wishes before time ran out. A real estate broker and dear friend from the diner encouraged me to chase what I truly wanted. Defying society's call for women to sacrifice, I yearned to break free and live on my terms. Regretting years of giving, I sought personal joy. Inspired by my friend, I studied real estate and dabbled in auction bidding. With savings and proceeds from selling my father's condo, I leapt at a new venture. In a twist of fate, I became a building owner overnight, living in a prime spot. 6 months later, fresh from a mountain climb, I was on my building's top floor, now my home, when a knock came. Exhausted, I hesitated but opened the door to find my pregnant daughter, toddler in tow, tearful and desperate. She'd been betrayed by her husband, who turned abusive and unfaithful. Facing childbirth and raising her young girl, she sought my help. She'd heard of my real estate success and, despite our fraught past, begged for aid, claiming a stake in my wedding savings and inheritance. Caught between fury and pity, I couldn't ignore her plea. Her vulnerability stirred me, and as a mother I couldn't shut her out. Our tangled bond resurfaced, forcing me to wrestle with love, disappointment, and family's pull. I challenged her. I saved for your education and wedding, yet you cut me out. Do I owe you money now? She countered that money trumped our bond, insisting she deserved a share as my daughter. Once proud she'd reached Harvard because of me, I now saw it as wasted effort. Too busy surviving, I'd failed to teach her decency. She'd grown selfish, thinking only of herself. I won't give you a cent, I said. Go back to your husband or your saintly father. She accused me of cruelty, saying no one else would care. Her husband's wife had fled with their money and he'd vanished chasing her. If you abandon me, I'll be an orphan with a child and another on the way. Would you be happy if I died? She screamed. Unable to bear it, I threw the cash from my wallet at her. Take it and go. Never return. I've learned my life matters too. You can't drag me in and out at will. I shut her out, though it pained me. She was still my daughter. But her unchanged selfishness and our buried past held me back. I pitied my innocent granddaughter caught in the fallout. True to her pride, my daughter never returned. Had she sought forgiveness, I might have relented, even if grudgingly, to spite her wretched husband. But her choice to erase me for him, only to falter, left me disillusioned. Why had my husband and daughter turned out this way despite my hard life? Now I see I'm the only one living as I choose, alone. To anyone sacrificing for others as I did, I say this: no matter how deep your bond, put yourself first. Even if the world betrays you, you won't betray yourself. Happiness isn't in what you give others, but in what you claim for yourself. That's my story's lesson. Though my life feels half-lived, I'll fill the rest with my own joy from now on. Thank you for hearing me. I wish you well today and hope fortune favors you. Cheer me on, share your wise words below, and liking or subscribing would mean the world.